Hello there. I'm at St Estephe, a place called Chateau Laffitte Carcasset, and I'm working my way through a tasting of their wines from the 2016 through to 2023. So at this stage, we've reached the 2021 vintage. Now the blend for 2021 is 65% of Cabernet Sauvignon with 30% of Merlot and 5% of Cabernet Franc. And 2021 was a vintage where harvest came quite late. While there were some beautiful sunny days during the early summer, during early August, periods of cold and rain delayed harvest. And it was a vintage where of the varieties, it was Cabernet Sauvignon that excelled. So let's take a look at it, shall we? The wine has a medium to deep ruby red colour. There's perhaps the slightest purple hint, but it's much more the sort of the dark ruby colour there. The wine has 13% alcohol, but a younger wine. Its tannins have smoothed out and it's quite readily throwing tears on the side of the glass there. So let's see what we make of the aromas, shall we? There's a freshness and a ripeness to some sort of red plum fruit there. And there's quite an obvious, attractive vanilla note overlaying that. Perhaps also a sort of a slightly minty, slightly leafy freshness to the fruit. Now, as I say, the wine only has 13% alcohol, so we're not talking about a particularly high ripeness vintage in 2021. So let's taste. The palate has a freshness and a juiciness that I haven't really seen in the previous wines that I've tried. The wines are mid-weight, it's rounded, there's a slightly meaty and savoury note that comes behind the sort of the brighter, fresher red fruit on the mid-palate. And that leads through to a reasonably structured finish with some of those slightly earthy, meaty tones showing themselves. Again, although it started off fresher and more red fruit than some of the older wines, this is a wine that, as it's in my mouth, is starting to show me more and more of those typical earthy, dusty, savoury notes that can typify the wines of St Estephe. And actually, for me, I think this is one of the lovely things about Laffitte Carcasset. It's producing well-made modern wines, but the character of the St Estephe terroir manages to show through in all of these wines. The powdery nature of the tannins, the ripeness of the fruit, and that sort of earthy note that comes through there. As far as this wine's concerned, I don't think it quite has the richness and the ripeness to match some of the other vintages I've tasted, but I do like its freshness. I'm scoring this 90 out of 100 because although perhaps my initial reaction wasn't as positive as with some of the other wines, there is a lingering aftertaste that really says St Estephe to me. So thank you so much for watching the tasting. I do hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, do please press the like button. That would be great. If you're watching my tastings and you enjoy doing so, it would be great if you could consider subscribing to the YouTube channel. It doesn't cost anything, but you can set yourself an alert and make sure that you're notified every time I publish a new tasting. If you have any comments or questions, please pop those in the comments box. And if you have any friends you think might like to watch, do please feel free to pass it on to them. I'd really appreciate your endorsement in that way. I'll, of course, leave a link to the winesearcher webpage for this vintage of this wine, so you can see where it's available, how much it costs, and all the other background information about the property that is attached to that page. So thank you once again for taking the time to join me, and I do hope that maybe you're interested and you'd like to join me for some of the remaining tastings of Laffitte Carcasset over the next few days. So thanks again, and bye for now.